Good morning. I'm Matt Driskill, editor of Asian Aviation Magazine and AsianAviation.com. Today we are speaking with Raphael Haddad. He's the president of Jetcraft Commercial. Raphael, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much, Matt. Appreciate being there again.
It's good to see you. It's been a while since we last spoke. I think it was back during COVID, the evil COVID and all that. Tell me what's new at Jetcraft Commercial.
Oh my God, I think last time we spoke was in 2023, if I remember properly. And yes, it was tough days. We were just coming out of the COVID pandemic. Things have we've had few great successes. Actually, we had a couple of good years. We since we last talked, I think we've placed 77 aircraft, which is quite a bit. We bought a lot of aircraft and we sold them all, almost to the point where we are out of inventory, and now we are back at it again. So we since then we bought aircraft from Air France Hub. We bought aircraft from Horizon, Alaska Airlines Horizon division. We bought aircraft from Cebu Pacific. We delivered aircraft in Indonesia. We bought aircraft in Thailand. We delivered them in Uzbekistan. We did a lot of activity. I can name. And so in summary, our experience with the CRJ1000 was good. We were able to buy 14 CRJ1000, which we are delivering the last one this week. We also bought 19-8-400s from Horizon. We delivered them all by January of this year. We delivered our last ATR 72 that we bought from Cebu. Also this past year to an airline called Flyjai in Indonesia. We became also a launch customer for the Twin Otter 300G, the new Twin Otter with the new avionics and the light interior. We became a launch customer. Our first delivery is end of this year, December 2025. So a lot of exciting stuff. We are in the middle of the market. We're trying to acquire some narrow bodies where demand is very high, as well as additional regional aircraft. So we've been very busy. We've placed aircraft across North America, Latin America, Africa, Europe, Asia Pacific, Central Asia. So I don't think we have spared one continent. So it's been very, very busy, and we're very excited about what we have accomplished, and we look forward to further growth in the future.
Have you delivered anything to Antarctica?
And actually, you're joking. You're joking. We are in the middle of a campaign for next year delivery for an operation in Antarctica.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you.
Is
We are
this
in the middle of
is this for like the National Science Foundation or someone like that?
That's right. That's right. You know, it's very interesting. It's very interesting, very exciting. It's for an operation. I don't know how much I can say, but it's for an operation that is based in Antarctica, and they need to do smaller trips here and there. So yes, it's going to be exciting. I really hope we will be able to conclude that deal.
They're not going to use it to search for aliens down there, are they?
That's definitely not. Definitely not.
No, it's seriously. I mean, I know I've got a whole list of questions, but that's interesting to me because when you deliver an aircraft, there's all kinds of inspections that have to take place. There's all kinds of paperwork that you have to fill out. I mean, how do you deliver? And again, you're a little bit hesitant to talk about identities and things like that. I understand.
Well, because we have not concluded the deal
No,
yet. Yeah.
I understand, but give me an idea Because this is interesting to me. I mean, I would love to go to Antarctica. I saw Anthony Bourdain. I love cooking shows.
Yes.
Was watching Anthony Bourdain when he went to Antarctica, and I would love to go there someday. But again, the process of delivering a plane, uh, whatever the authority is that's receiving the plane down there. I mean, do you have a whole team that has to
It will
go
not be
down
the
there?
local authority. It will not be the local authority.
Yeah,
Okay. As you know, Antarctica has different authorities depending on where the base is. It's the authority of the what should I say, the foreign entity that has a base over there that will be supervising that aircraft in terms of compliance uh, and all what goes with the aircraft delivery. So the aircraft most probably would be delivered in one location. And would it be ferried over there? It depends on how we would engineer the ferry tanks, or if the aircraft will go on a ship to be delivered there. So the customer is looking at all of these options, and we are trying to accommodate as part of the competition. Actually, we
I
hope to
mean,
make it.
I mean
If we
that's
do, we'll have another interview and we'll tell you all about it.
well. I tell you what. Why don't you invite me to go along? I would love to videotape. I would love to
Actually,
videotape.
you and I will go. We and I will go together. I would love it. I've never been to Antarctica.
No,
It'd be a great experience.
that would be great, and that would be really interesting. I'd love to shoot a video of that about how you deliver a plane to Antarctica. That would be really interesting. Anyway, let's
Excellent.
move on. I was talking to a consulting group the other day, and they were saying revenge travel is over. Things are settling down a bit in terms of travel. The problem is we've got tariffs from you know who in the White House that are really causing it. You know, it's the uncertainty is what I call it in the business. And you were talking about inventory, and the next few questions we'll talk about that. Lots of airlines have signed MOUs for planes. The order books are full. Boeing's got a full order book even. But everybody's waiting for planes. You said your inventory was getting low. You're looking around for planes. You talked about narrow bodies that were in demand. What is the trading picture today? When you go into the office, I know it's early there in London. When you go into the office today, where are you going to be looking for planes, and what are you going to be looking for?
Well, I don't want to give you all my recipes, but I'll give you as much as possible. Basically, we love to buy aircraft from operators. We love to buy aircraft from operators. But if that dries up, we're actually going to lessors right now. We're going to lessors that have aircraft that are returning from lease or with a stub lease. So to acquire from lessors. We're also very active in the part out aircraft that are for part out. So we're active in that as well. And the reason is that the market for those has grown considerably recently. So we tend to contact. We use our network. We do our own analysis. We have our own approach of how to determine, how to target, how to identify potential airlines that might be selling their fleet or some of their fleet or one type of their fleet. And there's also, we have another approach with different lessors. And other than lessors, because not only lessors are owning aircraft, you have also financial institutions, you have pension funds. So actually, since then, we have grown to a point where we have now a vice president that is only focused on that segment, lessors, pension funds, financial institutions, to go after them and to acquire aircraft, because buying from that segment is very different than buying from airlines. It's a totally different approach. The matters that are en jeu are very different. Okay, so if you're buying an aircraft from an operating that is an operating environment, rather than a lessor who is taking an aircraft where almost some of them they deliver with almost ran out engines or ran out landing gear. So it's a different approach of how to acquire aircraft.
So, and again, in terms of inventory, narrow bodies, biggest selling. I saw a story the other day. Airbus looks to surpass the Boeing 737 in terms of total number of planes delivered in the lifetime of the
Yeah.
program. So Airbus is coming on strong with the A320. So narrow bodies are in demand. You can't. I mean, how do you get a hold of a narrow body today?
Well, okay, before I touch on that point, yes, Airbus is surpassing Boeing, but Boeing had a bad patch, right? You know, they had to survive and come out of some certification issues or some delivery issues and the incidents that happened. They had to implement how shall I say, upgrades to the different systems to comply with what their authorities were dictating them to do. So basically, that gave Airbus a bit of an advance. They were able to pass them, but also chapeau to Airbus because they did very well. You know, they knew how to manage through their own problems. You know, and we all know the problems they're facing with the engines on the narrow bodies. You know, and it's true that the problems are coming from the GTF engines, but the LEAP has its own issues as well. So yeah, Airbus did a great job. I think Boeing is finally getting out, the deep hole where they were, and they're breathing. Uh, but what's not helping either one of them is the supply chain issues, which to me, the supply chain issues are bigger than the tariffs. They take first place. Tariffs come second, and there are ways to deal with it, you know, because tariffs, it's only money. Supply chain issues is a huge supply chain, whether it's on the on actual the rotables that go on the aircraft or the aftermarket or even on the human resources side. So it's a whole big spectrum of issues that are coming at us from the supply chain, and we haven't been able to recover from it since COVID. And I honestly, I don't see how we're gonna come out of it without a recession. I think I haven't seen any relief yet. Maybe a little bit, some technological progress on the blades for the GTF and stuff like that. But the machine that supports the whole airline business from a technical point of view and a human resource point of view is not there yet. Okay, even though we are predicting that it's around the world or even in Asia Pacific, that's where you're based, is that potentially the 2025 travel and demand would have exceeded 2019. So despite all that, also I give my full respect to the airline industry to have been able to achieve that despite all these counter currents that they've been facing.
How do we fix the supply chain issue and avoid a recession? I mean, that's a big thing. I was around during the housing crisis in the U.S., the Great Recession they called it. I mean, I'm guessing it's probably not going to be as big as that. That was a global phenomenon. But
Yeah.
how does the industry fix a supply chain issue? Is it just a matter of throwing money at it, or is it, hiring? You talked about people as well. Uh, how does one go about fixing this?
Well,
And what is
uh,
the root of the problem?
there's a raw material problem. That's one. Okay, you need all that raw material to supply a hugely aggressive industry. Okay, the aviation industry has multiplied, over the last 2 decades versus the previous decades, has multiplied considerably. So there's that whole fleet, the huge expansion in the global fleet. That that is a stress on the system by itself. Then you have all the raw material issues. That has stress, put a lot of stress on the system. Uh, Human resources. A lot of people shifted out of the aviation industry during COVID. People wanted to work, so they went and they trained in IT, in AI, in all of those other industries that are doing well and very well. So you need to recruit more. You need to have training programs that are accelerated. You need to have an improved or an expanded network of academies, aviation academies, and not only at the cabin level, whether it's pilots or flight attendant, but also on the mechanics level, because technology has advanced and capabilities need to line up with the technology. It's very nice to have a GTF engines and the LEAP engines and all the advancement that those bring in terms of noise and fuel consumption, all that. But also the complication, or how should I say, not the complication, but the progressiveness of the technology needs to be matched by the capabilities of the maintenance personnel. Okay, and that takes quite a bit, huh? I think technology is advancing faster than human training to meet because now the aircraft is no more mechanical. It's more of a flying computer, right? It's a flying computer. So the mechanics, if you don't want issues and problems, you need to train them into those capabilities and how to troubleshoot and all that. So throwing money at it is not going to be enough. For the tariff issue, you can throw money at that. But in terms of solving the supply chain issue, it's a whole ecosystem, I should say, from training to better prospecting for raw material, manufacturing, expanding manufacturing. Now, for example, we sent in a component for overhaul to an OEM who's supposed to have expanded capabilities. It's been a year, 1 year. Can you imagine the number? That is us, and this is one component. Why does it have to be 8 months to overhaul a landing gear, or a year even to overhaul a landing gear? Why you have to wait, send in an engine or plan 1 year in advance to send in an engine for an overhaul? Okay, it's your OEMs need to expand their network and their aftermarket support. Okay, they need to invest into that. They can, but again, they're going to be challenged with all the other issues, starting with human resources.
Yeah, going back to that, I mean, I remember I was at when I lived in Singapore, I was listening to, I think it was Subhas Menon from AAPA, and
Yeah,
he was talking about, we need to make aviation sexy again and all of that. And I was sitting there thinking, you talk about you can't just throw money at it, but in a way you can when you hire people. And Boeing is seeing this. They've got a strike going on right now with their defense people.
yeah,
Um, you know, People want to work for a decent paycheck, and I used to think, aviation seemed to be the perfect industry where you could go in, you could work for a company for 30, 40 years, make a decent living as an MRO technician, but now they've lost all of that. Uh, but everybody wants to nickel and dime, as we say in the U.S. They want to nickel and dime the workers for, shareholder value and so on and so forth. And the workers are the ones that are making the product. I mean, these guys are on the line every day. They're fixing the product, they're creating the product, they're making the product, and you got to pay them. So to me, in a way, it is a matter of money. And the second point I want to make that I thought was interesting, what you just pointed out, is how, especially like in the MRO industry, it's changed from what I call, you've gone from being a grease monkey to a code monkey, which is my word for computer programmers. Uh,
Yes.
so instead of getting your hands all greasy, you've got to be able to figure out the computer program. All the AAR just made an acquisition the other day of an MRO software supplier. I see press releases on this industry all the time. And, that's where a lot of the money's going is for these predictive maintenance software programs. So, you're now becoming a code monkey instead of a grease monkey. Uh,
Yes, exactly.
but it's interesting what you said, and I'm interested that you said that it's not really a tariff problem right now. It is a supply problem. It's a human resource problem, and I hope the industry wakes up with that. Raphael, let me move on for a little bit because we're going to run out of time if I don't. We've been talking about jets a lot, but earlier when you were first speaking, you talked about you had just placed some ATRs. I think it was with Silk Avia or someone like that.
Placed
Um,
quite a few actually.
yeah,
Silkavia, Flyjaya. We placed some Dash 8s all over the world as well.
let me combine this in there. How are turboprops doing? Let's talk about Asia in particular because this seems like a perfect market for turboprops. The first turboprop I flew on was from Oklahoma City to Dallas, actually, because it's only about a 30-minute flight.
Yes.
And that was a long time ago. Um, but how are turboprops doing in Asia and what particular markets stand out? Indonesia, India, Malaysia?
Well, the well, for example, for ATR, 37% of the ATR's placement is in Asia, right? Actually, I can even say in Southeast Asia. It's a huge market for turboprops. And yes, like you said, Indonesia is a very natural turboprop market. There's also some in Malaysia, but also we see it developing in Central Asia. Okay, there's quite a bit of demand in Central Asia. They see the necessity of turboprops. We have, as you mentioned, Silkavia is one of our customers. Also, Asman in Kyrgyzstan. They took their third aircraft from us. So there's more and more aircraft. There's quite a few airlines that signed up, including Bangkok Air, that's renewing its fleet with the ATRs. So there is quite a lot of activity, not only on the turboprop side, but also there is quite a bit of activity on the regional jet side, as you saw quite a few announcements in Japan and Singapore for regional jets. So activity in the regional aviation in Asia, it's still on the up. And you mentioned India. India, we see the manufacturers focusing a lot on India. India is still a growth market. It will continue to be a growth market for a couple of decades at least. And there's quite a bit of focus from the turboprop manufacturer and the regional jet manufacturer on India. We know very well that Airbus and Boeing are focused on India as well. So the turboprop is still in high demand globally, both Dash 8 and ATRs.
No, they're interesting. I mean, turboprops they get a bad rap sometimes. I think they're perfect planes for the right market for the right routes and all that. And And surprisingly, I mean, I flew on in Philippines on it was an ATR that Cebu Pacific had bought, and it was a brand new plane. I thought it was great. It was fine. It's no
When
problem.
was that?
Pre-COVID for sure, because that's when I was still
Okay, so
traveling.
it's probably one of the ones we bought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
we bought.
it was a good plane. It was a good plane.
Yeah. No,
Raphael,
ATRs, and both types, like whether it's ATRs or Dash 8s, like Asia, because of the density of the market and the proximity of the markets, the ATR does very well. Where speed and range is more of a requirement, like in Africa, you see the Dash 8 400 being in high demand. So, and in Latin America, it's almost a blend. Depends which market you're going after.
okay. Raphael, we need to take a quick break. We're going to hear from our sponsor, MentorJet of Hong Kong. We'll be right back after this.
We're going to have the crown jewels of Asia, and I promise you, we're going to have the nicest and busiest business aviation hangar in the region.
And we're back. We're talking with Raphael Haddad. He's the president of Jetcraft Commercial. Raphael, again, we spoke a long time ago. I think it was during COVID or at the end of COVID, something like that. And back then, it was interesting because we had some startups happening in Australia, like Bonza and a few others, which I thought was surprising. Um, and again, you look at what happened to Bonds, they're sort of out of the picture. Rex is having a hard time. Is it the right time to, from where you sit? I mean, I know you're going to sell them a plane, whether it's the right time or not, uh, because if they've got the cash, you'll sell them the plane. But
Yes.
is it the right time to start, say, an LCC in Southeast Asia to compete against Air Asia, or which landed at the wrong airport in Australia the other day again? Um, but what's it look from where you sit when you want to lease a plane to someone? Someone comes in, Matt Driskill comes in and says, "I want to start up Driskill Airlines in Cambodia. Are you going to lease me a plane?"
Actually, that's a great name for an airline, Driscoll Airlines. Would I lease you an airline, an aircraft? I don't know. Usually startups have a little bit of a hard time leasing aircraft unless they are supported heavily by their shareholders financially. You're talking about Southeast Asia, and you're also talking about Australia. Australia is a bit of a different market than the rest. Australia is, again, long legs, range, speed is required. Yes, it's unfortunate what happened to Anza and Rex as well. We were hoping to place an aircraft with Rex at some point, but it didn't. We also were in negotiation with another operator in Australia. Also, that did not work out. I don't know why. It seems that there is a bit of a squeeze on the funding and the financing of aircraft in that part of the world. But on the other hand, we lost in buying the fleet of WestJet to Qantas, where Qantas went and bought what is it, almost 14, the Dash 8 400 from WestJet in Canada. So obviously Qantas needs it, right? And they're letting go some of their Dash 8 300s, but so they're upsizing their fleet. They're upsizing their fleet. So if the Rex and the like don't fill up that gap, Qantas is going to jump in and fill it. So Australia is a bit of its own ecosystem, and the activity in New Zealand, you see ANZ, they still want, they have the Dash Ace and they have the ATRs, and they will not let go of any of them. They need them. So the demand and in the market, Australia and New Zealand is still good. The market is still healthy despite the small the couple of issues that happen. It's no different in Southeast Asia. The AirAsia will never be able to compete with the smaller regional carriers because it's a different. One is selling tomatoes, the other one is selling cars. It's they can coexist very nicely. They don't draw on the same market.
Excuse me. Okay. We've talked a lot about supply chain problems affecting deliveries, new planes, and things like that. The pre-owned market, that seems to be basically all there is right now. You've got a lot of pre-owned planes out there. People are keeping them in service longer because, again, supply chain problems, MRO problems, engine problems. And I think I was talking to an interiors maker, and they said, yeah, part of the problem is they can't get interiors for some of the planes they're trying to deliver. Yet you tell me if that's true or not.
No, it is.
But tell us about the pre-owned market and where is that? Who's really looking for pre-owned planes? Again, Southeast Asia, India, China, or globally?
Everybody. It's global. It's global. There's a bit of a difficulty in the USA because of this tariff that's artificially restricting the market now. But if this wasn't there, it would be also in the US. So there's a huge demand for secondary or let's say pre-owned aircraft. And the demand is everywhere from every continent. There's how should I say, there's less than 100 aircraft worldwide, used aircraft that are available for sale. And the ones that are available, they get snatched up very quickly. However, I'm talking for sale. However, for lease, there are. Aircraft are coming back from lease, or the lessees are trying to hang on to the aircraft. Lessors have the upper hand in that segment. So now lease rates have gone up on average by around 25% year over year. That's a big number. Lease rates I don't see them coming down soon. I don't see them coming down soon. Aircraft prices are getting back to the level where they should be because they were quite a bit low in the due to the COVID period. So the lessors are benefiting from the increased value of the aircraft as well as the increased lease rates. And they're actually, some of the lessors, they're trading their aircraft with leases attached or not, because they can get their equity back. Plus, they can make a nice hefty margin because when they bought these aircraft, prices were low, and now they can sell them at a higher price. So it's easy for them. If I can't sell an aircraft, I'll release it. I'll lease it again. And they have, like some of the lessors have older aircraft in their fleet, and they are able to place them. And as you mentioned, operators that have older aircraft that are, still in the 1900s, 1995, 1998, 1999, they're putting them back into service. And of course, the average age of fleets at operators have gone up.
Is that
even it's like to maintain a younger fleet, but they don't have a choice.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, I'd like to follow up on that, but we'll do that later. And we've got to move on because we're running out of time. I was talking about China. I mentioned that earlier. COMAC is sort of the big word out of China now. And I'm curious, number one, would you buy a COMAC plane? And number two, are they ever going to be a real threat to, or a competitor, let's not say a threat, but a competitor to Airbus and Boeing? I mean, they haven't got certified in Europe yet. They're not certified in the US. They still got to get they've got to get dealers and MRO and all, all the network of parts and everything out there. Um, but does Boeing, Airbus, and maybe Embraer, do they need to be looking over their shoulders?
They should. They should. Immediately, probably not. COMAC, well, remember where Airbus was. Remember, what, in the 70s, Boeing needed to look at, over its shoulders, and they didn't do that enough. And look at where they are now versus Airbus. So China is a huge market. Technologically, uh, China is advanced, and they're going faster than anybody can expect. Uh, um, the Yes, they do have issues on the production. Yes, they do have issues on the certification of the aircraft to, being accepted globally. Uh, they will get there. They will get there because do they have the funding? Yes. Do they have the know-how? Yes. Um, uh, and they have also the drive, the drive. Um, so they will get there. Today, the Chinese government is encouraging local airlines to jump on the 919, maybe not as much on the 909, but they are. And they are providing whatever is required. Yes, you are right. The success of an aviation program resides in the aftermarket support. Without proper aftermarket support, any program would fail. Okay. Uh, it's nice to produce a beautiful aircraft with great engines, high, a great interior, the latest avionics and all that. But if you don't have the network to support it globally, it's not going to work. COMAC is aware of these problems, and they are seeking support to progress internally, I mean, domestically and globally. And I think they will throw whatever is required at it to make it work. Maybe it's not going to be the success that we expect it's going to be. It's not going to be immediate, but these guys are patient. They have a good backup from their government, so they will get there. I cannot tell you how long, but they will get there. And yes, Boeing and Airbus needs to be looking over their shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, and I know, from a supply standpoint, they've got a lot of Western parts and everything else, but it's not going to take them much time to reverse engineer all those. So
There you go.
we'll see what
Remember
happens.
what happened to the locomotive industry? The high-speed rail, they took all these technologies from the manufacturers in the 80s and all that. They applied them. And look at them. Now they have their own endogenous high-speed railway system.
Yeah, look at the maglev going from, I guess, Shanghai to Beijing or something. I can't remember where it goes.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, my son is a big train fanatic. He keeps me up on all the train stuff.
There you go.
So he's a big fan of trains. Raphael, we're getting down to the end of the show. I asked this of everybody recently because the industry, the aviation industry, is making a big deal out of it when I think the aviation industry gets a bad rap. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble with my earphone here. But sustainability, I mean, when you're negotiating a lease or trying to sell a plane, does does sustainable aviation fuel come into the negotiations at all, or is it not even something that you even talk about? It's just they need the plane, they want the plane.
Exactly, Matt.
They don't really
Exactly.
care about SAF or not, you know, whether it's a CFM engine or GTF or whatever.
Totally, totally. You're totally right. They don't care. What they want, they have butts to put in the seats. They now need the seats to put the butts in them. So that's all. That's all it is, right? So sorry to be so crisp about it, but that's what it is. They don't care. We have customers that they have A320s with IE engines. They don't care if they get a CFM engines. They don't mind the mixed fleet. They don't mind having an A320 and a 737. They don't. They don't mind having a Dash 8 and an ATR. It's amazing. It's amazing what's out there. They just want to meet the demand that's out there, and they know that this is not going to last very, very long. So they want to capitalize on it, try to get as much market share and revenue out of this market while it lasts. It might last another year, 2, 3, 4. We don't know, actually. We predicted a recession last year for this year, right? A lot of people did. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. So many things are surprisingly coming from left and right, you know, and they keep our economies going. There's a bit of slowdown in Europe, but something happened, and you know, it's an interesting period that we're going through. Not a good one, but interesting.
Well, it's like the Chinese say, you know, may you live in interesting times. It's a blessing and a curse.
Exactly. Here you go.
Yeah, and but I tell you, I like your being straightforward because I like and forgive my language, I like it when people they don't bullshit around and you know they say things the way they ought to be said. Raphael, last question. You know, I like to end these things on a positive note. What do you see from where you sit as positive for the industry overall and for Jetcraft Commercial?
Well, as an industry, we are riding a positive wave in terms of travel demand, and uh, it keeps me hopeful because all these rumors about potential recessions, potential slowdown, uh, lack of equipment, lack of resources, it proved with what's happening is that our industry is resilient, and we're always finding an out of this issue and this issue and this issue. And look at us there; it's humming. It's humming, even with supply chain issues, higher interest rates, higher aircraft prices, no labor force, or not, I shouldn't say low labor force. Despite all that, it's humming. Try to make a booking right now. You know, I can't. You have to either you want to pay the higher fare or you stay home. It's a positive situation we're in.
Okay. Yeah, I actually, like I said, I booked the other day and I flew business class back to the States. The airline I flew had a good deal on it. So, but the problem was the reason they had a good deal was I had a 14-hour layover in a couple of different cities.
There
So
you go.
it was
There
not a
you go.
great thing. Anyway, Raphael Haddad, the president of Jetcraft Commercial, thanks for joining me in conversation.
Thank you, Matt. It's always a pleasure talking to you.